Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Forward with Forli. So, in today's episode, we are going to talk about uh, working with a guide dog sort of in general terms. I'd just like to give you an overview of how working with a guide dog actually works. It can be really daunting at first when you're starting to think about guide dog travel, what is all involved and what exactly the dog does and what the dog doesn't, and everybody sort of I think has a different idea of what the dog does and what the dog doesn't. So I'm hoping that this video will give just a nice overview of what a dog who's trained to guide a person who is blind or visually impaired does. So to start, there's three basic parts to what a guide dog does, and that is point-to-point travel, so going from point A to point B and stopping. Could be the beginning of a block to the end of a block, from one end of a hallway to another. Any sort of scenario you can think of where you're traveling, you're not giving any other commands. You're just starting and stopping, and that's probably the most well-known thing that people see. They see a guide dog walking down the street. It's obviously traveling from point A to point B. The next part of that is object location. So if you're blind or visually impaired, you obviously need to be able to find things in a non-visual way, and a dog is designed to help you do that. And of course there are variations for accomplishing that task. But the idea is the same, is that the dog is specifically trained to find certain objects, and it could be anything from a bus stop pole to a bench to a counter, in a place of business, you name it. Whatever object you pick, that dog will find. And then finally, there is object avoidance / clearances. So there's all kinds of obstacles out there in the world, anything from tree branches, newspaper bins, poles, mailboxes, open manhole covers, you name it. Anything that might be, in your path. And of course, the cane will help you find these things too. But a guide dog, unlike a cane, is a living being and has the ability to think and use judgment and can actually take you around objects. And that is one of my favorite parts of having a guide dog, is that unlike a cane, say, where you're going to go up, stop, and touch something and then plot a route around the object, the guide dog is going to see something and either stop, show it to you, and you're going to go on your way, or B, they're just going to go right around it. So, to just kind of give you a brief overview on how my guide dog is trained, Forli is trained with what we call positive reinforcement. So positive reinforcement uses clicker training, which is a behavior marking tool, as well as food reward. Food is one of the most intense biological motivators out there, and it does some real wonders in guide dog training. For example, I'm going to show you a scenario where Forli finds a bus stop pole, and this pole is just a regular old steel pole sticking out of the ground, and she's able to find that after 3 or 4 training sessions, each training session lasting 5 minutes or less. So in 15 minutes, basically, I've taught my dog to find a random blue pole in the middle of the sidewalk. So that's just an idea of how powerful of a motivator food can be. So in the videos, you might see me feeding Forli for certain things, and that is our way of communicating. That is me paying the dog for doing exactly what I asked her to do or what I expect of her. The other type of guide dog training method that's pretty common is compulsory training. Compulsory training is effective. Some schools choose to use it, others do not. It really depends on where you go. For some people, that's their decision maker, is what kind of training philosophy the school uses. And the way compulsory training works is you demonstrate to the dog what you want them to do, you give the dog the opportunity to execute what it is that you're expecting them to do, and you're waiting for them to make the right decision. If they make the wrong decision, you correct negatively, in an attempt to, use that as a motivator to get them to do the right thing. Whereas positive reinforcement training, you in the beginning are setting your dog up for success all the way. You're like, okay, I'm going to do everything I can to help this dog do what I expect of her or he, and if they don't, then we'll just start over. And then as the dog learns what it is that you want them to do, you start backing off a little bit so that you're not cueing them or helping them so much. You're letting them take the initiative and finding what it is you want them to find. So, okay, I've talked enough. Let's get started. Okay, we're at the beginning of a new block, and we're just going to show you point-to-point travel. So we're going to start from the up curb, do a block, cross the street, and then stop at the next up curb. Forli, forward. Good dog. And this is probably the most obvious thing that a guide dog does. They go from one point to the next. And a little dog distraction there. Good dog, Forli. Good girl. Okay, we're approaching the down curb. The dog's gonna stop. Good girl, Forli. And for such a good job, she gets a little treat. Part of our positive training protocol. Okay, clear traffic, Forli forward. Nice, straight, smooth line. Across a little residential street. Stops at the up curb. Good girl. And that's tells me that we've reached the end of this. What we're going to show you guys is object location. So we just have a simple bus stop pole that Forli is very good at finding. And I'm going to show you the power of positivity here. She was trained to find this. This is kind of a customized thing. But something that most dogs can find over time. So let's give it a shot. Forli, forward. And I know it's on this block, so I'm going to have her slow down just a little bit. Forli, steady. Slow feet. Forli, left. Find the bus stop. Good girl. Good girl. So again, she was trained to do that by me out in the field, and they trained us to do that in class. I showed you how to find obstacles with a dog and how a dog can find them. Now I'm going to show you what a dog does when there's an obstacle that needs to be avoided. So in front of me is a sign right in the middle of the sidewalk. Could easily be hit with a cane, or if you had a cane you might miss it. And so here's what the dog's going to do. She's going to find it and show it to me, and then we're going to go around it. Forli, forward. Good girl, Forli. So she stopped, and I might probe with my foot. Maybe I might find it with my foot, but more likely I'm going to find it with my hand. Good girl, Forli. Again, she gets another treat for that. That's part of our positive training protocol. And then each school does this a little differently. Now that I know where the pole is, I can direct the dog to go around it. So I'm just going to give her kind of a right gesture with the leash. Forli, forward. Just a real light gesture. Good girl, just to get us to go around it. And then we'll continue on our way. Along an area where there's no sidewalks. Some people ask how you work a dog with no sidewalks. Well, they're taught to follow the curb on their left. You always want to walk into traffic. And so I'm just going to do a quick demonstration in my neighborhood, Forli, forward, of the sidewalkless technique. So just walking along, dog is trained to follow a straight edge. Of course, sidewalkless, there's always a lot of obstacles in the way. For instance, coming up in a car, Forli's going to stop. Good girl. I know it's a car because I take this route all the time. Good girl. But I might reach out and check, and then I'm going to say forward. Forli's just going to go out around the car, and she's going to return to her line of travel. Might even show me that there's a bush here. Good girl, Forli. Forli forward, and then we're going to continue on our way. And she's just going to stay nice and tight, close to this edge, focusing on task at hand. So curbs are handled a little different with sidewalkless, and so what's going to happen here at the end of this block, Forli is going to actually turn into the intersecting street and show me the curb. So I probe with my foot. Good girl, Forli. Always reward. And that's just to indicate that there's been a change, because there's all kinds of driveways and things that are sticking out that you're going to go across. But here, there's actually a difference in, I mean, this is the end of the block, so this is how you do it. But you can't obviously get up onto the curb. There might not even be a curb. And from this point, we're just going to say Forli right. Good girl. She's just going to head out, keep going along her chosen path. Find the up curb. Again, probe. Good girl. And again, I'll go over more of this in another video, but this is how you would do sidewalks. Okay, we're back from our walk. Thanks for joining us. So to just recap, this is a very general overview of what a guide dog does. I could probably make an hour-long video and not cover everything about the guide dog lifestyle. It's a very complicated topic because it is a lifestyle. You choose to live this way, and you know, your life is definitely impacted by having a guide dog. And so my goal for this video is to show you in general terms what it's like to work with a guide dog, but more importantly, what a guide dog does at a very overview / basic level. In the coming videos, I'm hoping to dig into these concepts more and show you guys some advanced stuff as well, just to really show you what it's like on a day-to-day basis in real time working with a guide dog. So again, thanks for watching. Feel free to like, share, comment, and subscribe.